Hello, welcome to JIBRIN Angle on Oweleke TV. My name is JIBRIN, and this is my angle. We have our special and regular guests, Barrister Austin Manta and Segun Onibio, to actually go through with me some important topics that borders several parts of several areas of Nigeria. So, and if you are just joining us for the first time, this is Oweleke TV. The show is called JIBRIN Angle. Please subscribe and set on your notification bells for future occurrences for you to be notified on future occurrences. And that being said, let's welcome our guests and regular I don't know. I'll call them regular. They are fellow presenters as me. Maybe I'll consider them that because they've literally, especially Barrister Manta, he's been all the way. We started all this together. So, and honestly, I feel so honored that he's been with me all this while. He's never failed me, not even once, and I appreciate that. Once again, Barrister Manta, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. As always, it's my pleasure.
Honestly, your sound is getting worse. Unfortunately, I don't know how we can actually do with this. Okay, while we are waiting for him to see what he can do about that, let's welcome Mr. Segun Onibio, a senior journalist as well.
It's a pleasure to be here, as always.
All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Let's start with the NIA, the DGs, the NIA, the DSS. Maybe I'll call them. I don't call that revampment. It's just the heads that we're taking off or whatever. So, what are the intrigues? The political intrigues surrounding their. I watched. I think it was Segun who. I think was it you? Okay, you forwarded the video to me, and I think someone else. I watched it somewhere online too, where we have a situation where the employees of those agencies, the NIA, the DSS, were actually jubilant of the removal of their boss, and which means that there've been a lot of bad blood while they were there. So there are intrigues that surrounds their exits. And I think when I say intrigue, it means both internal and external. Internal from that is the power brokers within the agencies, and the external probably from the presidency and other government agencies outside these relevant agencies. So there are two issues here to discuss now. Why what are the intrigues? This question, first of all, going to, I don't know, Barry Saifa, if you have fixed your sound, I hope we will hear you. Let's start with you. What do you think are the were the intrigues behind their removal? And if there are intrigues, what are the shapes of these intrigues? Is it out of personal or political expediency, or out of sincerity, the sincerity of purpose to actually do the right thing? Because there are several stories around these two DGs, which are not, these stories are not palatable to the ears. I don't know much about them, but I've read so much about them. So I have little I can say from my own angle about them. So what do you think is behind their removal, and what should we expect from their removal? Barry Samantha.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me at least sufficient enough.
We'll manage. Go ahead.
Okay, very well. You have to understand where the two DGs are coming from. Both of them were appointees of the former president. And both of them, Bichi and Ahmed Abubakar for NIA, Bichi for DSS, were brought from retirement by Buhari and giving those appointments. Apart from that, there are both internal and external factors that led to their removal. Internal, as in interest within the agency. Then there are external issues as well. Within the DSS, the DG was thoroughly disliked by a good section of the DSS personnel. Now, you come to the NIA, the embarrassing failure of intelligence that led to the seizure of national assets in some countries abroad is what culminated in his having to go, because it's clear, if you know, the NIA is in charge of external intelligence, and for
Yeah,
them
just like we have
fail,
NSA
yes,
and KGB.
for them to fail to gather intelligence on court proceedings involving Nigeria that was liable to end up in seizing the assets of Nigeria, that was an unpardonable failure of intelligence. What does it take if a case is going on in the US, for instance? We have NIA agents in the US. Are they not supposed to, as long as the case affects Nigeria and can compromise our national assets, are they not supposed to follow that case and give appropriate reports and intelligence on it? So these issues happened in Canada, it happened in France, there's ongoing one in US, there's another one ongoing in Switzerland, another one ongoing in Britain. In all these instances, the agency failed to alert the presidency or the government of Nigeria to take remedial measures to avoid the seizure of national assets, including the presidential aircraft. That, to me, was a signal failure of leadership, and for the man to even have stayed up to this time, to me, even shows something else. But remember, they are appointees of the former president. They were allowed to stay up to this time, the second year of the incumbent government. Meanwhile, you have to understand that many people are already jostling for those positions and will be pushing and pressurizing for these people who are appointees of the former government to go, so that opportunities can open. Within the agency, like the DSS, there is a lot of misgivings. When we come to that, I'll give you a litany of complaints of the staff within the agency against the DG that led to a lot of them celebrating his removal. But other than that, number one, they were supposed to go with the former regime, being intelligence-related director generals. The new government is supposed to appoint its own people, even from inception, but they allowed them to drag into the second year of the second government. It was time for them to go. And for me, it was even late. They should have gone much, much earlier. Other than that, the performance of these two bodies, the DSS and the NIA, is nothing to write home about. We have a situation where the DSS DG spent the 8 years of the former regime and has continued into this thing with all the security failures in Nigeria, the kidnappings, the insurgency, whatever you can think about. We have not seen a decisive DSS going to tackle these security challenges in a way that will show us that the agency is up and doing. On the other hand, we see constantly their focus is on blaming opposition. They are quick whenever there's an issue. They are quick to blame the opposition. For instance, the last protest, you see the security intelligence is it is organized by the opposition to overthrow the government. That is always the focus of our so-called intelligence agency. They leave the main issue and dwell on issues that are not very relevant to the security of the country, but are pleasing to the person who is at the head of the government. Because when you now bring an intelligence reporter, oh, the opposition is trying to overthrow you, you know you will likely get the hearing of the president. But the main challenges which the DSS should confront, the security challenges, the insurgency, the murders, the killings, the kidnappings, they have performed well below par, and they ought to have gone sooner rather than later.
Okay, we'll come back to a follow-up question on that. Now, let's move to Shegun. Please, what's your take on this? What do you think is is Barrister on the right? Do you have the same opinion? Do you share the same opinion with Barrister Manta, or you think there are other things behind, other intrigues, power play behind their removal?
Yes, I agree 101% with Barrister Manta, and I have a few other observations to add to this. I read a report I think about 2 weeks ago, prior to the resignation of the NIA boss, and I'm not surprised. Although what I would have wanted as a citizen, a patriotic citizen of Nigeria, is that the man should be arrested and prosecuted for joining hands with external forces to embarrass the Federal Republic of Nigeria and suppress the people, supporting the Fulani terrorism acts in Nigeria. That is one of the major reasons, 70% of the reasons why he was removed.
Which of the DG are you talking about? The NIA or the DSS?
Both of them, the DSS and the NIA. I'm going to come to the DSS. I'm going to come to the DSS because there's a matter presently that we're dealing with on Oweleke TV, where the DSS boss's son, a 24-year-old boy, accused one of the DSS officers of refusing to do his job to secure him where he was going to watch a football match. And he ordered the DSS officer's colleagues to torture him, and he was tortured to death.
Wow.
And they refused to release the body until after 3 months. I think it was just last month, early this month, that he was buried. The 30-year-old boy was buried just this month. And they are, the DG of DSS and the DSS officials are doing everything to suppress this case so that nobody gets to hear about it, but already it's in the press. And I'm very grateful that pressure bodies, pressure organizations are beginning to climb on the case and demand for rights. But the man who was killed is dead. But we need to have somebody prosecuted for this, because that is one thing that happens in this country, that people don't get punished for for committing sin, for corruption, for any form of atrocities that you can imagine. People don't get punished, and that's why people get away with a lot of things. Under the NIA, Nigeria has been embarrassed beyond the season of our jets and our assets. We have been embarrassed with the infiltration of our entity as a country by foreign Fulani terrorists. We need to call them what they are. They keep telling you they're bandits. Bandits would only rustle cattle, fight you, and probably make some losses and get away. But these guys clean out communities. They clean out communities. And it is already there on record that some foreign countries are backing them up. I can authoritatively tell you from here that in southern Kaduna, in Zamfara State, in Niger State, Sokoto State, and a couple of other states in the southeast, where mineral resources have been discovered, that these Fulani terrorists are not just cleaning out communities, but helping the Chinese mine our mineral resources and catch them away for free. And there is no way the NIA will tell you that they don't have this information. The DSS will tell you that they don't have this information. I'm giving you this information first hand. That is what is happening. But nobody wants to say it. We talk and make we die. And the reason why they've been getting away with this is because They were appointed by an incompetent, inefficient, thoroughly embarrassing government that was led by the APC in 2015, led by Buhari. Buhari accommodated these people as they were flushed out of the Central African Republic, thrown out of Ghana, and expelled from Mali. Our doors were opened unto them, and they flocked our country and took over our lands. Initially, they were staying in the bushes and rustling cattle and, kidnapping people for ransom and picking up security agents to embarrass the government. How can you imagine that a ragtag army would look at one of the best military in the world, at least in Africa, and thoroughly embarrass them? They would arrest your security men. You don't get to see some of these reports in the news. Why? Because the government doesn't want to be embarrassed. Our boys are being slaughtered on a daily basis under this incompetent NIA DG and the DSS DG. They were all there doing a regional and ethnic cleansing of other people and other regions on behalf of a government that is incompetent. So I am not surprised. I think from the report I read, it was a mild warning. Instead of having to embarrass him and sack him, he was told to honorably resign. You could see on his face, he was smiling anyway in that video and telling you that it's because of the family. There is no family anywhere that is doing anything that is asking him to resign. Nobody who is in that position will want to relinquish power. He had to say that as a cover-up. He was told to resign or be embarrassed. And I would have preferred that he was embarrassed. Why? Because people need to get to know the truth. Look at his home state in Katsina. They pick up an emir in Katsina State and embarrass him thoroughly. On a daily basis, they go into Katsina, they go into villages in Katsina and take people away and rustle their cattle. What has he done about it as the NIA chief? What has he done about it? Now they're coming back to Bichi, who is the DG DSS, who has been using the DSS as oppressive operation apparatus for himself and his family members. His wife lives like a monarch, as if she owns the DSS. If you are arrested by the DSS, and by God's grace you don't have somebody in the caliber of Barrister Manta to follow you there and ensure that you are released, you are dead. I am telling you, DEAD, dead. You are not coming back. Once you go there, you are not coming back. Unless people make noise, or you get a very sound lawyer that follows you there and ensure that you are released, you are finished. Once you go in there, you are not coming out. As a matter of fact, if you approach the DSS, they will tell you they don't know where the person is. The police would deny, everybody would deny that they don't know where the person is, except when you press or you bribe, or you have a very sound lookout force that can tell you, look, this is where this person is. How many of these people, journalists, lawyers, pressure group leaders, patriotic Nigerians, who have been locked underground by the DSS for issues that are as minimal as telling the truth? Look at what they did to Fiombo, the investigative journalist who exposed what was happening in the borders, in the customs. What happened to him eventually? If not for goodwill and for God's grace, he would have been forgotten in the gulag. So it is a welcome development that these two people have been asked to resign, and that's why you saw in that video that the people in the DSS were celebrating an oppressive DG, a DG who embarrassed everybody thoroughly, denied them promotion based on ethnic and religious grounds. If you are not Fulani and you are not from the north, and from the north you have to belong to a particular group that is very strong for you to be able to stand out and get promoted. A lot of people's promotion have been stunted in the DSS. And that's one of the reasons why you see they are celebrating and even jubilating with the new DG. Why? Because the new DG is one of the people who rose along the lines. Not that Bichi did not rise along the lines. Since 2013, Bichi was supposed to have left the agency, just like the NIA boss. The NIA boss failed his promotion exams twice. How can you appoint such a person who will serve out his term, then you will renew his term, knowing fully well that the person is not competent to be there? So I am happy that those two people have been removed. If not for anything, despite the fact that this crooked and corrupt government doesn't seem to have a focus, these particular two issues that have been tackled in the past week is one thing that needs to be commended. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has done well
All right.
to have asked, because of course,
Yeah.
there were
Honestly,
security reports from
Shegun
foreign
has said
countries.
it
The
all. Even
report
though
I read was from the
I think his
US,
network has
indicting those two people of
is giving us
terrorism
problem,
acts.
and
But
his
of
video
course, you
has
know those
frozen.
things will not come out
Okay, while we are waiting
in
for
the
him to
open.
come back, anyway,
That's why
he
we have
has
these
actually
issues.
made the key
So I
points.
thank you very much.
Barrister, let's come back to you.
Yes. Please, before you go on, let me add. I wanted us to exhaust the issue of security and professionalism as a basis for the removal before we go to the political side of it. I believe that there's jostling between the NSA and these two security agencies. Nuhu Ribadu as the National Security Advisor is finding it difficult to present credible achievement or progress to the president or presidency. And it's natural for him to shift the blame to these two agencies. Also, I believe between him and these two agencies, he has been jostling to position himself. Don't forget, nobody is a very ambitious person who is looking ahead, who is trying to position himself for something much later, for presidency later on. So he wants to be wholly in charge of the security architecture of Nigeria. And if you know the DG of DSS, he is somebody,
Yes.
whatever his professional failing, he is somebody that we stand his ground, even disagree with even the presidency. If you remember during Buhari's time, they had a running battle between the DSS and the then National Security Advisor and even the EFCC in most cases. So it is a way by the National Security Advisor to rein these two agencies, rein them in, take effective control of them, and become the actual security czar of the country, and position himself. Don't forget, these two DGs are both from the north. Bichi is
Yeah.
also from the north. Ahmed Abaka is also from the north. He wants to be the preeminent security charge in the north and by extension in the country. So he is uncomfortable with them, both from a professional performance point of view and from a political angle, where he's jostling for himself to reposition himself.
Okay. Honestly, we'll come back to Nuhu Ribadu because I have criticized Nuhu Ribadu over the years, even from Obasanjo's regime. I think I wrote an article on that too. We'll come back to Nuhu Ribadu because I have my reservation about him and his competence. Now, on my follow-up question, Barrister, okay, you guys have honestly. Shegun has actually spilled much worse report about these two DGs. So put all these informations together. Obviously, these guys are they are what I can refer to as an epitome of evil and bad governance. So one will ask, why did they allow them to remain in office after over a year of taking government? Because the truth is, now as a presidential candidate, you have the privilege of actually having, if you're running for under presidential election system of government, the moment, not even under any system of government, if you are running for office and you become a front runner, a candidate, not an aspirant, there are privileges, there are some government privileges that are at your disposal. and as such, security is one of them. The security intelligence is one of them. Obviously, while Bola Tinubu was running for president, for presidency, then he obviously had all these people working for him, giving him all this information about the everything, everywhere, every part of the system, including the security failures, the reason for security failures, and possibly what he plans to do about it. Anyway, whether he was doing that or not, that again, I have my reservation. For those of you who have been following me, you know what I think about that. Even by Samantha, I think we are on the same page in this, that he was never prepared in the first place. So now, one will expect that instead of just the first day Tinubu assumed office, in fact, at his inauguration, the first phrase that came out of his mouth was subsidy is gone. That, in my own judgment, in my own opinion, I think that wasn't supposed to be a priority. The priority was supposed to be actually bring it, because the first I keep telling, not even that's the reality, that's the norm. The first primary responsibility of any head of state, the first primary responsibility is security, to keep the nation, the citizens safe, to secure them and make them feel safe. And that is just it. Economy comes next. I don't know. And unfortunately, he went that, just like everybody knows Tinubu. He doesn't know priorities, and that's exactly what happened then. He, instead of facing the security architecture, revamping the entire security architecture from day one, relieving them of all their responsibilities, of all their appointments, and bringing in new people, because these people, obviously, just like someone have spent already 8 years and spending, and the other one spent, I think, about 5 years or thereabout, still counting then. Yet everything about the security, in fact, under their watch, the Nigerian security system has come to a halt, has come to a very abysmal level. So one will expect that the president, this should be a priority to him, a sort of going, if we have to go by everything we have had, both of you have talked about these two men. Why did they let them even create or cause more harm to the system? Barrister.
Well, you have to understand that you have to understand the role the former president played in bringing the new president into power. To a large extent, the Buhari had to help, or either by commission or acts of omission, it was possible for Tinubu to become president. And I feel he did not want to make a wholesale dismissal of all appointees of the former president as a way of appreciation, in so to speak. So you know, Bichi and the DG of NIA were both appointees of the former president, and in the capacity and position they had, which are very sensitive positions. I think the current president, Tinubu, wanted to leave them for some time as a show of appreciation, because he was also removing, there were other appointees of the president that were being removed. And what has come to be the case, if you look at removal and appointments, these two removals had to go hand in hand. Because when you see the replacement, one is replaced by a person from the southwest, and the other is replaced by a northerner. The people removed are both northerners. So it was not going to be possible to take one agency, for instance, the DSS, and remove the DG and then bring a southwesterner into that position. When you look at what has been the outcry that has been coming from the north, that the northerners are being removed from those positions. So you tactically you do the two, bring in somebody from the southwest, keep one person from the north in those positions to stifle some agitations. But let me add on the issue of the internal dissensions in the DSS. Shegun has talked a lot of it, but I'll add some of the things that exacerbated the situation, that mounted pressure right from day one. Apart from the issue of undue interference in the operations of the agency by the family members, particularly the wife of the DG and his son, Yusuf Bichi Jr., who actively interfered in the running of the DSS. There, there was issues of impeding career development of officers by extending the time of officers who were supposed to retire, thereby preventing people who were supposed to come up from assuming positions. If a director was supposed to retire and you extended his tenure, it means the person who was going to become director would not have to. These were rampant things that were happening in the DSS. I remember both of them were brought from retirement. They had already retired and left the agency and were brought from retirement by Buhari to put them there. And they were doing the same thing. When the DSS DG came, he was doing the same thing, bringing people who had also retired and giving them positions. Whereas other professionals in the agency who were looking forward for professional advancement were stifled. Another issue, the federal government was said to have approved a 40% salary increase for staff of the agency. The man did not implement that 40% increase up to the time of his removal. Then the most important thing, nepotism in the recruitment of staff. The first recruitment that he did in 2019, he was said to have recruited about 420 to 450.
Barrister, I'm sorry I have to cut you short on that. I think now we honestly we have done. I think we have we should be by now. We are supposed to have exhausted all the evil of the. We are. We have established how bad these guys are. We've established how evil they are. I think my own. We have. Let's move forward on this because this topic is taking us too much time. Now, my own problem is what I want us to talk about is the way forward. Now, let's start with Shegun. Now, the people appointed, Barrister said one from the north and the other one from the west, southwest. What is there anything known about these two new DGs? And if there is, or there are things that are there are people we know we can actually talk about. What are their pedigree, or what is their pedigree? So that is one. Secondly, okay, you answered that. I think we'll go to my next point, which I'm going to be talking about extensively. Shegun. Yeah, I understand network issue. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Yeah. I think we that. All right. Well, I may not be on the same page with you on that because anything that has to do with Tinubu, I do not expect any positive thing. Your foundation, when the foundation is faulty, what can the righteous do? Everything about Tinubu is faulty. You cannot you can't get something good out of something bad. A lion will always give birth to a lion. A lion cannot or rather a snake cannot give birth to a lion. So as far as I'm concerned, Tinubu is a snake, and he's a poison to the nation. It's a poison to Nigeria, and he will continue to be a poison because I consider him as as reprobate. I don't see him as someone who can change because dry fish, you cannot bend a dry fish. That's just it. When a fish is dry, you can't bend it. So at his age, I don't see him as changing. He's not showing any sign of changing. So he's even doubling down on his evil foundation, on his evil foundation. So I don't see anything good, even though the both of you okay, I'll be here getting the Manta's opinion, but based on your own opinion, the two guys are good, whatever, they have good pedigree or whatever, but I don't expect. Look, someone like Tinubu can never ever at this juncture, based on his 1 year antecedents, over 1 year record. He's obviously not out to do anything. He's an insensitive and arrogant, very insensitive and arrogant man. A man full of evil and mischief. So he's not really out to do anything for this country, anything good for this country. He's just out to actually amass wealth for himself, amass power for himself and his family and their cronies. So that is just it. I don't see anything good coming out of this government. Now, this issue of let's talk about that's my own point. My problem with this government, people who find themselves in government and behave very, very recklessly and behave with a whole lot of impunity, just like these two past DGs, Bichi and what's the other one's name, the NIA and DSS, former immediate past immediate removed DGs. For people who have behaved in such a manner, I was watching a video produced by, was it Mahdi, and I wanted to make a video out of it, but I said, okay, let me just move it and discuss it on this platform. The truth is, I listened to him. I watched where he was a kind of antagonizing the removed DGs and talking about how they are, just like Shogun said, being embarrassed, being disgraced, being or whatever. And I said, then what? Evil men don't care about shame. They don't have conscience. They don't know shame. Shame does not, they don't care. All they are after is all they seek after. Their personal, all they after is their selfish interest. That is all they after. They don't care. I'm telling you, for those of you who have dealt with, I've been close to some people who are evil. They don't. There is no shame or conscience in their dictionary. So these people have spent over 10 years, almost 10 years, or if put together, the both of them have spent over 10 years in government. Do you know what the kind of harm they have caused? They have cost Nigeria a whole lot. Lives and resources have been lost. And now all we have for them is, ooh, shame on you. Is that all? No deterrence, no retribution, there is no punishment for it. These people They are already in luxury. They are already rich. They have amassed wealth. Apart from all this wickedness they have perpetrated for so many years, they have amassed wealth and affluence and influence for themselves, and wealth probably that will never ever go dry in their entire lifetime, and probably their children's lifetime. And all we could do after all that they have done, all we could say to them is, ooh, shame on you. That is just it. This is what frustrates me about government. This is exactly what frustrates me about government. And unfortunately, it's not only in Nigeria. We have the same issue in even a civilized environment, where public officials actually take wrong actions, bad actions, sometimes evil actions, sometimes selfish actions. And at the end of the day, the worst scenario, or what the worst thing that happens to them is they just fire them. Fire them, and then what? They go live large. They go live large off their evil perpetrations. So this is my point. Now, these two people have gone after several years, amassing wealth, amassing influence for themselves, and killing people, because obviously they have killed people directly and indirectly as head of securities. So now these people have gone, retired home, then going there to remain peaceful. Barrister, we have talked about something like this in the past. And I'm bringing it because it can never be overemphasized. Because this is one of my major frustrations in governance. That people actually, public officials do something they are not brought to book. The worst thing they do to them is they fire them. They fire them and they go home with all the affluence and the opulence and the wealth they have amassed for themselves. So who is losing, or who lost at this juncture? The country. We the people are the ones losing, and they gained even after all they have done. Barrister.
Before, what is the way forward? You have to remember that I am not particularly one of those people who will rush for a comments on the newly appointed DGs, whether they rose from the ranks or whatever. Because in Nigeria, as head of an agency, you can only succeed to the extent that the president allows you to. And
correct. That's my point.
In the evolving scheme of things, you will see. Let me give an example. You know the issue at hand in Nigeria, the suffering and the protest. Now, if you are in charge of an intelligence agency, you have a dilemma. Will you tell the president the truth, or you tell him what he wants to hear? And what does the president want to hear? He wants to survive. He wants his government to be intact. He don't want anything that we say, oh, they want by next 2007 I will be compromised. So his ears are itching to hear the blame on a scapegoat. In this case, they are ready to blame the opposition parties, the organizers of protests, rather than telling the president that his policies are what is bringing the country down. You will not write that kind of intelligence report because it will not be well accepted by the person who is there. So for your own survivability, for your own acceptability, you will write what the president wants to hear and sit. Now, the way forward that you ask for, take the DSS for instance. The focus, let me say 70% of the focus is on things that will please the president and the government, the people that in power. A little percentage is devoted to the actual security architecture, security issues. So the whole agency has to be reoriented and professionalized. We do not want Right from beginning, even from Obasanjo's time, anytime there's a protest, the agency will come up with, oh, we have discovered people who are trying to overthrow the government. And those people trying to overthrow is always opposition or organizers of civil protests in response to excruciating policies of the government. But it has been their track record to always put the blame on opposition parties, on organizers of protests, as against telling the government the truth that your policies have impoverished and driven the people to such an extent that they have no choice but to come out and react. They don't want to do that. If we are going to move forward, we have to reposition the DSS, cast out the bad eggs, and in doing that, I wanted to give you some statistics of what these people did, what Bichi did. He recruited 420 people from his local government, Bichi local government in Kano alone, in 2019, from that one local government. Meanwhile, in all the history of the DSS, they have never recruited nationally up to that number. But to
Wow.
accommodate that number from his local government, in that year he recruited 1,000 people. The highest recruitment has
Wow.
always been 450. But he recruited 1,000 people, out of which almost 450 were from his local government. So this kind of things compromise integrity, compromise professionalism, it compromise the focus of the agency.
All
We
right,
have
Barrister, I think, sorry to cut you short again, because I actually wanted to talk about Nuhu Ribadu, but time will not. We have so many a lot to discuss today.
yeah.
I think we have to bring this segment to this topic to an end. I think that is
I
it.
just want to
Anyway,
say, please permit me to say one thing on NIA,
go
the
ahead.
National Intelligence Agency. You see, the way China has used its external intelligence agency is about 70% economic and the rest other intelligence. The economic intelligence that China has been able to deploy their external intelligence agency throughout the world to steal technology, to find out how of the Nigerian economy for the benefit of
Eh,
our nation. That is how we should
yeah,
reform NIA.
Unfortunately, you can't get it from, and that will take us to the next topic. Actually, you can't get that from our crop of present crop of leaders. So our leaders, Nigerian leaders, we all know them as being very, very. They sell Nigeria. Every time they sell Nigeria. When it comes to even negotiating, when they go on negotiating tables, they all they are after is their own interest. They sell Nigeria every day. Every day they keep selling Nigeria's interest to the highest bidder globally. So we shouldn't expect anything. Even the Bichi, is it Bichi? The NIA, no, not Bichi. The NIA DG, former past DG. All he did, you someone were talking about this issue of intelligence. That why didn't he see what was coming to the US, to Nigeria, when the embarrassment that was coming at Nigeria? For during the not even during that is still ongoing, the impounding in seizure of presidential aircraft. I bet you someone like that, because of his personal interest, I bet you, honestly, I am certain that he knew, he had the information, he got he knew about that. He just probably, for personal interest, again, he just allowed it to happen. Allowed the embarrassment. That's the kind of leadership we have in Nigeria. They don't care what happens to Nigeria. All they're after is their own personal interest. So unfortunately, that will take us to the next topic. Thank you for that. And yes,